the most successful entrepreneurs have a great story, a great testimony of all the challenges that they overcame. And once you get to that point, and we talk to fellow entrepreneurs, and this is so awesome. We can give our kids so much more than we were given. But at the same time, it's almost like doing them a disservice because they haven't had to struggle for what we had to struggle for. So how do we show them life's not always easy? Things don't always work out. Failure is a part of life. That's bringing them along the ride and not sheltering them from that. And it also teaches them gratitude in doing that as well.
This is a family business. I don't care what business you're in. Your family is taking and making sacrifices for the family to have the success. And so we want them to experience the whole thing so that they can go out into the world and be animals, right? Like we want them to be absolute beasts, have beast mode, faith and family and fitness and finance, because we taught them all of the pieces. They didn't just see the trophy. Well, welcome to Conklin AF Podcast, where what are we going to talk about? What do we talk about here?
We talk about all things leadership, marriage, raising children, health, vitality. We tell
business, sales.
Yeah. Did I say leadership?
Man, woman. Whoa, man.
Whoa, man.
Whoa.
Whoa, man.
I mean, nobody expected that. No. So today we're going to be talking about leading through growth together.
Yep.
Together. All right. So we are uniquely qualified to address this topic.
We certainly are, because we have messed it up 7 ways from Sunday, probably 700 ways from Sunday.
Well, and we've gotten a few of them right.
Yeah. By the grace of God, we have.
So
we've learned a lot.
See, like that literally probably explains everything you needed to know, because I see all of the things that we've done right, and she sees all the things that we've done wrong.
We're talking about leading through growth, and so we have had a lot of growth opportunities. You don't grow if you don't fail. Ooh. Growth doesn't happen inside a vacuum, so absolutely.
That's an Instagram post right there, and this is a podcast. So
all right, let's clip that and let's start over.
Right, exactly. Start over. Well, listen, I want to talk about leading through growth because we've grown a large company, $3 billion in sales, 500 plus or minus people, 6 states, 19 offices, and growing. And we've got multiple businesses that are outside of that. I mean, and oh, yes, we've got 3 kids. And oh, yes, we live in a state that's not where our businesses are primarily located. And oh, by the way, we now don't live in our own house. So
there's that too. We like to keep things exciting.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's life. Life is always happening. It's always changing. Like that's the constant. And so I came up with 14, 15 different sort of topics within that topic that I thought were important. Some of them we have learned through failure. Some of them we've gotten lucky and gotten right, but we have an opinion, right? First one, be open and honest.
And
be open and honest.
As it relates to leading through growth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think this is one of the interesting things for me. I'll talk about it. When we early on, I wasn't open and honest with Shannon. We were really sort of separated, right? She
compartmentalized,
yes.
I would say.
Yeah, compartmentalized. And so I didn't share with her all of the things that were going on. I didn't share with her the excitement. I didn't share with her the struggle. I didn't share with her the fear. And the question really came down to why. Like, why was it that I was doing that? Open and honest. And I'd like to start if that's okay.
I would love it.
Okay. So I think early on, we were very compartmentalized. And if I'm being super open and honest and raw about how I was feeling, I didn't want her to know. Like, I didn't want her. I was scared. I barely had enough to keep myself from being scared to death. And I don't think I could have handled her fear too. There was probably also a piece of it that I didn't want to tell her, because if I told her, if I spoke it out loud, she might have held me accountable to it. And I don't know, that was a little scary for me.
And the result of that was shouldering it all on your own. And then I, at the same time, was shouldering everything that I was dealing with, just raising 3 humans and moving. We moved so many times from rental to rental to rental because, of course, this was post-2008 and the real estate market had been decimated. And so we didn't even look at each other as a source of strength and a source of refuge. We just looked at like 2 human beings in a relationship, and you're responsible for this and I'm responsible for this, and like just stay in our lanes. And that was such a massive, colossal mistake.
Yeah, that was not done properly. So today, being able to be open and honest while very uncomfortable was pretty spectacular.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. I like you hear people, they're like, oh, I could never work with my spouse.
Yeah.
I love working with my spouse. In fact, I think that the being that open and honest and vulnerable and that collaborative, I think it's our superpower.
Well, and not only that, is it's also that we've grown through that because Todd is very much the risk taker and I am very risk averse. I'll say very, but significantly more. You'd say very?
Yeah.
But in being open and honest, he's pushed me outside of my comfort zone to where I'm like, okay, maybe I'll take a little bit more risk. Maybe I'll take a little bit more risk. And then I'm able to kind of maybe rein him a little bit too, because some risks, what's the saying? When you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And so you don't have to swing at every single nail. So, I think we've gotten a lot better at discerning risks to take, risks to contemplate, and risks to charge forward on.
No. Well, you wouldn't have even done this podcast.
Heck no, I wouldn't have. No way.
No. All right.
Not without full filter, a makeup and hair team, and all the things.
Right. All right. Number 2 is share your fears. I kind of feel like I wasn't gonna share my fears. When I was talking to you about something, I was almost selling myself when I would tell it to you. And so it was all the glass half full, all the opportunity. So I didn't share those fears with you. And I feel like in hindsight, you needed to know that I was
Human?
aware of the fears.
You weren't just
and
a
the
robot
risk, that I wasn't delusional.
Or I could snowplow. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was the delusional one.
Well, that was a different delusional, and you were, but evidently not. So, don't you love how when you go to do a podcast or video, you could have it perfectly quiet in your house for days, and then the moment that you go to record is when the landscapers show up?
The landscapers that are supposed to be here on Mondays, but it's not our house, so we can't really dictate that.
That's good. This is life, right? Life is controlled chaos.
Life.
So here we are.
Living through a flood.
Yeah. All right. So my next one is include them with you. I think for a long time, I really felt like I needed to protect you. I was your protector. You were not strong enough. I know that sounds horrible.
Right. It does.
But yeah, I know, right? You're strong. I think what I would tell everybody out there, especially you guys, those, you alpha men that are out there, y'all, we want these little delicate flowers, but I'm going to tell you right now, she's way more a beast, and she's just not that delicate.
Well, and if you read the Bible, and it talks about how God created Adam and then he made Eve to be his helper. The women in your life are supposed to serve as counsel for you and as a sounding board for you. And we actually have incredible discernment and advice. You hear about women's intuition. It's a real thing. And so being able to lean in that, then you can actually realize that superpower that is your spouse, for sure.
Yeah. And we talk about it's a family business, right? I mean, this idea that you can do this and you go off to war and they don't know anything about it and then you come back. I mean, it's nonsense, really.
Yeah, I think you wanted the 1950s housewife that would be in her pretty dress.
I hate when you say that.
No?
Yeah.
Why?
I mean, well, hold on. Coming
literally,
home to a martini and a foot rub.
That's where I'm going.
No, that would have been okay. No, it wasn't that. It was really, it was this idea that I felt like my responsibility was to protect protect and provide for you, right? And maybe my how you do that was distorted.
Yeah, I see that.
And I didn't have the role models to be able to really determine what that looked like. I just went with my gut. And I think in hindsight, which is really my next one, right? You divide and conquer to your goals. In hindsight, had I taken you with me earlier, and I would have allowed you to take those things that you were gifted at and me to take those things that I was gifted at, we would have gone much faster with a whole lot less pain along the way.
Absolutely.
I mean, you think about we're $3 billion today. Can you imagine how big we would be, how many lives we would have impacted?
I cannot even possibly look back because we are exactly where we're supposed to be.
All right. So talk to me about like gifts and divide and conquer.
So I feel like you and I coexist so well together, and we are such superpowers because we complement each other pretty perfectly, right? Where I say Todd has his head in the clouds. He's the big idea guy, huge, bold dreams and visions. And I've got my feet firmly on the ground, and I take those visions and I hear your visions and your dreams. And I think, okay, practically, how do we do this? Step, getting all these things in place. And so I think where we've done it wrong is you're trying to pull me up to the clouds and I'm trying to pull you back down to the ground rather than
my little wet blanket.
Rather than incrementally. I'm a realist,
I'm teasing.
Not a pessimist, but rather than saying, okay, awesome, we need to have this step done and then this step, and then we you kind of come down to my level and I come down up to yours, and it's incremental rather than a pull or a drag.
Yeah.
I say.
Well, and I would say, like, you one of your gifts is discernment. And I want to believe everybody. In fact, I believe in people more than they believe in them. And it is one of the things that has allowed me to have an impact on people, right? Like when I'm coaching people, when I'm training people, I see something in them that they don't even see in themselves. And that passion, that value that I have for them as human beings is what makes me who I am, which is great. And yet, that clouds my ability to discern whether or not somebody's right for us or not.
Right.
And you have this gift that you can immediately determine whether or not they're a good fit for our organization, for our inner circle, for our family.
And I think you can have both. And I think I do have both, where I certainly believe in someone more than they believe in themselves often. And I tell them, you can borrow my confidence in you until you have confidence in you on your own. But what I do believe is when somebody shows you who they are, you should believe them the first time. And that's where we get into trouble, because we see the potential of them so clearly. And so we don't want to believe the actions that have already told us who they are.
Yeah. Had we divided and conquered and really, like, you were the discerner, for example, we would have gone faster and further. Yeah.
Right.
The next one on my list is small bites. Small bites. And I think when I say small bites, to me, how do you eat the elephant one bite at a time? I see the elephant. You look at the elephant, you're like, oh God. Oh, geez. Right? We have sort of different levels, right? There's certain things that stress me out that don't stress you out. And there's certain things that stress you out that don't stress me out. When I think about business and I think about leading through growth and scale, it can be a big, overwhelming thing. And while I may be comfortable with it, if we boil those things down to the small bites, that's a space that you're really comfortable in, and helps us lead together. Just
like as in methodical, and is that what you're saying?
Sure,
like I'm your steady Eddie.
Pieces,
that makes me sound really super lame.
Well,
it's
you're
not
lame.
true.
Yeah, you're not lame. But you do operate differently, right? Like I see the end zone 100 yards away. You see, well, we got to get a first down.
Right. Exactly. And that's where I have to be. Where leading for you, you can see that you've already made the touchdown. You don't even just see the end zone. You've already made the touchdown, and you can act as if, lead others as if you've already made the touchdown. And I have a hard time, I feel like I need to prove that I need to have made the touchdown before I can lead like that, if that makes sense. And so we need to make, get it first down, let's celebrate that, and then let's get the next down, and then the next down.
Yeah. I feel like this one, you were talking about head in the sky, feet on the ground. Like this is where that really brings those two people together so that they can lead together. And they're actually doing the things necessary to get to the end zone. So I do like the bite size. My next one is pray together. You want to take that?
Are you nervous that you're going to get
yes.
emotional on it?
I am. We were talking about this earlier, and I started to tear up, and I'm like, ooh, all right. So I think you should take this one.
There is, the stat is that 94% of couples that pray together stay together. So the divorce rate amongst couples that pray together daily is 6%, which is incredible when you think that the average couple is a 50% divorce rate. So pray every single day with your spouse, not just for your spouse, but with your spouse. And it's really powerful how you can connect intimately so much deeper by speaking that over them when you're praying to God about all the things that you know that they are challenged with that day, that they are concerned about, that they are excited about, all of that. There's really no better way to feel heard, seen, loved, valued, cherished than praying with your spouse.
It's incredible. Like it literally is one of the greatest things. And I don't know why we haven't done it always, but since we have been, our level of connectedness, intimacy, just for me to melt like butter in your hands is you praying over me. And I don't know.
Note that, ladies.
Yeah, seriously, like melt like butter. It's crazy. But I do feel heard, and I do feel like you see and feel my pain and my joy and the things that are important to me. And what's interesting is when you're praying over your wife, what you're praying is for all of the things that she's carrying, all the burdens that she's carrying, and all the fears that she be removed, right? That you're praying for protection over the things that she holds important, and she's hearing that too, and she knows now that you are hearing her, and it's a very powerful moment.
Because it can feel very lonely and you feel like so much of your effort and sacrifices are unseen. And so that's a powerful way to ensure that your spouse knows that they're seen.
Yeah. Next one is leave it at the office. This is boundaries, right? You got to remember, work is work, play is play, marriage is marriage, and you've got to leave it at the office.
Right. And leading through crisis, when you are experiencing crisis, this is when it is so much more difficult, but it is so much more important because you are just so consumed in it. So set your boundaries, keep date night sacred, keep your family time sacred, keep those boundaries firm and sacred and adhere to them, because nobody ever gets to the end of their life and says, man, I wish I would have had one more conversation with my husband about business. I wish I would have, not played with my kids so much so I could have gotten more done in business. Nobody says that. So boundaries are so important. And it is probably one of the most challenging things for us, for sure.
And it's not just crisis. It's funny because you can sort of start to begin to see, I said earlier, right, pessimist, optimist, and she doesn't like that, but it's true, right? She's like entering crisis. Same thing when there's something really exciting, right? It's very easy for me to be like, I want to talk about this. Like, let's have a drink, let's have a cigar, let's talk about all the cool shit. And there's a time and a place for it. And while the next item we'll talk about includes your family, when it comes to business, if you really want to grow and scale, you've got to make sure that you guys are putting the right level of energy in each area of your life. And so boundaries means you have the discipline to not talk business when it's family time. Amen. All right. Next one. Don't shelter your children. The saying is that strong men create easy times create weak men create hard times. so the question that I would have would be, if your children need to learn how to be strong, are you going to teach them that times can be hard, or are you going to allow the world to teach them that?
Yeah, most often you'll see the most successful entrepreneurs have a great story, a great testimony of all the challenges that they overcame. And once you get to that point, and we talk to fellow entrepreneurs, and this is so awesome. We can give our kids so much more than we were given. But at the same time, it's almost like doing them a disservice because they haven't had to struggle for what we had to struggle for. So how do we show them life's not always easy, things don't always work out, failure is a part of life? That's bringing them along the ride and not sheltering them from that. And it also teaches them gratitude in doing that as well.
Yeah. When you think about our growth and scale, we had to take a pretty big risk, which meant that we needed to be willing to fail. And of course, for every win that you have, you probably had 100 skinned knees along the way. And if you're protecting your children from that, all they see is the win. And that's that sort of entitlement society that we live in today. And so, we want them to understand that if you're going to risk, you're going to risk failure. But on the other side of failure is something really good. We want you to be able to appreciate those things. But we also want them to understand that there was a lot that went in. And again, this is a family business. I don't care what business you're in. Your family is taking and making sacrifices for the family to have the success. And so we want them to experience the whole thing so that they can go out into the world and be animals, right? Like, we want them to be absolute beasts, have beast mode, faith and family and fitness and finance, because we taught them all of the pieces. They didn't just see the trophy.
Mic drop.
Mic drop. Okay. This one's hard. So stay focused on the main thing. And the main thing is, what we're talking about is business. And so while we want to say the main thing is God, but what I'm talking about with this is the main thing is that the business is the economic driver, is the engine of your family. And you better make sure that it's alive.
Yeah. It's so easy to be distracted by all of the things that are going around, whether it's drama in your kids' lives, or we've got our oldest going off to college. And so that's a big distraction for me lately. But taking away from keeping my focus on the business impairs our staff, our agents, our flow. I mean, all of that for sure. That is the oxygen.
Yeah. And the parent guilt that comes with, I should be doing this.
I found out today that Todd has mommy guilt too. I didn't know that men could also have the mommy guilt, but it is real. But your kids will not die if you miss a baseball practice.
Yeah. And listen, no shade to those people that are, coaching their kids and have an 8-to-5 job kind of thing. It's just not what we chose to do. And if you're going to build and scale a business, that's not what we're here talking about, right? So there are going to be certain sacrifices, which is why I say take them with you. Make sure that they understand that, hey, if we can get through this month doing these things and making these sacrifices, that we're going to have this as the reward for us all. It is classic. And what's crazy about it is there's this huge yard, and they are all just right here. Like, they're congregating. All right, next one. Don't kick the dog. You want to take this one?
No, I don't want to take this one.
Why? I mean, I feel like you're uniquely qualified to answer this one.
Because I'm the dog or the kicker?
I wondered if you were going to pick up on that. Like, I set you up on that.
You totally set it up.
I know.
No, just remember that your spouse is your superpower. And even though you might be completely pissed off at them or annoyed at them, I sometimes get annoyed or pissed off at Todd. Doesn't happen very often, but be mindful of the words that you use. You can never take them back. And words are so incredibly powerful. So no matter how frustrated or disappointed, or, if he makes some stupid, idiotic decision, I know his heart is not trying to be stupid or idiotic, and vice versa. I'm not just saying you're the only one that's made stupid or idiotic decisions. You can't ever unsay your words. And the whole sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt me. We all know that's bullshit, because words can give life or death.
Yeah. Well, you took that a different way, but yeah, I was just, I was thinking a man in the arena, but whatever. No, I think for me, don't kick the dog is when you're going to have bad days. You're going to have setbacks. We just talked about it, right? In order to build and scale a business, you're going to have to take some risks. They're going to come with some stresses and some strains and some skin knees. But when you get home, listen, you can't take back your words, right? Once you've said them, they are real, and people don't forget, right? Especially women. Just FYI, they can remember shit. She still brings up stuff that happened 22 years ago. So, but. It's
as if it happened yesterday.
Literally, yeah. And she's like, do you remember when you said that? And I'm like, I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. It was not me. And she can come up with where we were, what I was eating. It's crazy. But listen, it's up to you. It's not their job to go, oh, well, he was just in a bad mood. It's your job to have the discipline to keep your tongue. If you doubt that, just read Proverbs. It'll tell you. And then, of course, on the heels of that is the next one, which is give grace.
Yes. We are all so undeserving, and yet we feel often so entitled to grace. Well, I didn't mean it, and I was just really tired, or I just had a bad day. It is easy to judge someone else by their actions and ourselves by our intentions. And so that's where you really have to double down and lean into grace, because I don't know his intent. Well, I do know his intentions. I know that he loves me, and his intentions are always good. That just may not be what his actions sometimes will reveal or reflect. And so give grace.
Oh, preach. I don't have anything to add on that one. Some of us have got to give a lot more grace than others, but No?
All right, what's the next one?
Next one. Oh, I love this one. I'll let you start, because you and I don't maybe necessarily align on this one.
Oh, the accountability one?
Hold each other accountable.
So we talk often about, you can hire a business coach, you can hire a leadership coach, you can hire a health coach, all the things. They are not your accountability partner. They will give you a map that shows you how to get to your goal, but it is up to you. They're not there holding your hand. They're not seeing you day in and day out, but your spouse is with you every single day. And so if they tell you what they want to achieve, then it's not for you to hit them over the head anytime they make a choice that doesn't align with their goals, but it is, hey, a gentle reminder, you said you wanted to accomplish X, and doing Y is in direct opposition of that. Is that what you intend? And it's not meant to be judgmental. And sometimes I feel that the reason we don't see eye to eye on this is because I feel judgment from you. And I don't like that. I don't think anybody likes
weird,
that.
Right. So there's two different kinds of people, right? If your experience with your spouse is that when you are holding them accountable, that they lash out at you, well, you might just be married to an asshole. All right. It may not be you, right? Conversely, right, if you are holding somebody accountable and they get themselves all in a knot, well, that may speak more to them than it is you. But if you can't, number one, hold your spouse accountable, and number two, be held accountable by your spouse, then I don't know who you can be held accountable to. Because this whole idea that you can outsource accountability, we all know you are the only one that can do what you want to do and hold yourself accountable. We know that, right? This whole idea that I can outsource it to a third-party coach is nonsense, right? And any coach that's telling you that they can hold you accountable is lying to you. But you and I are one. And so it's the left hand and the right hand. And so if you hold me accountable gently or not gently, it's my responsibility. I invited you to do it.
He says gently or not gently. So I want to talk about that because you say if you can't be held accountable, maybe you're the asshole or whatever it was you just said, but you can also be an asshole in the way you hold someone accountable. Don't do that, because that's just going to drive you farther away from the connection that you need to have in your marriage.
Well, and what it does is it is now all of a sudden you're not aligned, and now you're not being open and honest, which was our number one.
Right.
And so all of these things sort of stack on top of each other. I would just say that before you throw the baby out with the bathwater, if you're the person that's being held accountable and you're the one that's getting upset, stop, take a deep breath, and make sure that you really are open to being held accountable, right? Because somebody said and pointed out that you didn't do what you said you were going to do doesn't make the problem theirs. It was you that said you were going to do it and didn't.
Yes. And accountability, holding someone accountable, does not look like passive aggression. It does not look like judgment, and it does not look like control.
Right.
It is gentle, loving, kind, and for good, for the betterment of your spouse.
I'm personally in favor of the little dog shock collar thing. Zzz. No, for me.
Do you see why we don't see eye to eye on this? He
me.
keeps taking this down a path that is not healthy at all.
Listen, we have not talked about sex one time during this entire podcast. So, I don't know. We were going to take it down the topic. All right, whatever. Celebrate the small wins.
Yeah. And spend time in it. Don't just yay, high five, and then move on. Really spend time celebrating and just thinking about all of the things that got you there, all the sacrifices, all the steps, all the decisions, everything you did right, because you want to do that again and really celebrate. Yep. Because it's so easy to move on to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing. And the joy is definitely in the journey, not just the destination.
You just stole my line.
I did?
Yeah.
Good.
You like that, didn't you? Well, listen, if you don't celebrate the little things along the way, then it begins to feel like a grind. And I don't know about you, but I never wanted my marriage to feel like a grind. Never go backwards. I love this. I mean, listen, so many people take their foot off the gas and they think that they've arrived and it's all good and they're coasting, and it's a lie. The disease of modern day society is comfort. And that's what everybody wants you to feel, is comfort, and take everything casually, like it's just not that important. And it is not true. The intensity, the focus, how united you are, and in fighting whatever you're fighting, right? Having an enemy, having a goal to unite together. That is it. Otherwise, it becomes like the analogy is the boulder, right? You spend all of this time and effort to finally get the boulder moving, and now you think, oh, well, I don't need to keep it going. And then suddenly the boulder stops, or worse, comes back over you, and now you've got a real problem.
Now you've been crushed. You've been flattened. Yeah, everything should still be treated with a sense of urgency. Complacency is deadly.
Yeah. Complacency is a disease.
Facts.
All right, my last one. Your test is your testimony.
Right.
Talk to us.
So everything that you have gone through up to this point is something to be taught to somebody else. What you have learned, how you've grown, how you've failed, what you've accomplished, somebody else needs to hear that. And so we're really passionate about that, sharing. It's great to look at the highlight reel on Instagram, and I wish that that's just how life was, but it's not. And so we want to be real, raw, and 100% honest and truthful, that it's not easy. Marriage is not easy. Being an entrepreneur, growing a business, running a business is not easy. Parenting is not easy. Seems to get harder, honestly, oftentimes before it gets, a little bit easier. So whatever you have gone through, please share it with other people. You have no idea how impactful that can be for somebody, and you don't even know them yet.
Yeah. I mean, I think somebody somebody said that, one of the most important things to do is to choose your spouse wisely. It makes life a lot easier. And I think, Shannon's proof that it's made her life a lot easier.
Thank you, Jesus.
Yeah.
Blessed. Hashtag blessed.
Right, hashtag delusional. Thank you, Christine. Yeah, I mean, your test is your testimony, and everything that you're going through. Here's the great thing. If you look at ancient societies, the elders, they taught people, they passed down lessons to younger generations. And everything that you're going through, there's somebody out there that could have a better life because of it. So use your tests, tell your testimony, help some other people, and change some lives.
Amen.
Amen.
Love you.
Love you more.
Go kick some ass. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
What's our outro?
I got you.
All right. Good.
Hey, listen, if you know somebody that could benefit from this podcast, share it. Tag somebody. We'd love for you to subscribe and give us a thumbs up. As you know, we're not selling advertising on these things. That's payment enough. So thank you, and we'll see you in the next episode.